Back in 1997, I was working a hardcore gym as a teenager called Santa Barbara Gym and Fitness. Lo and behold, I'm working the front desk. This huge, jacked dude, a bouncer from the Spearmint Rhino, the local peeler bar, walks in there, built like a total brick shit house, gets in there, and he's training back. He goes on the incline, gets a barbell, and does chest-supported rows with a barbell. Years later at Metroflex Gym, the first time I met IFBB Pro Corey Matthews before I had the chance to work with him or anything, we interviewed James Fed Carroll for Jailhouse Strong, also interviewed Corey about his time in penitentiary and how he trained for Jailhouse Strong doing the exact same, lift. Steve Hall, my first powerlifting mentor, was huge on bent over rows, would be like pendulum rows, what we call them now, those type of like power rows, okay? So you read these old school textbooks and they talk about different body part splits, this and that. They talk about training, upper body one day, lower the next. So herein lies sort of the problem is a lot of times they would advocate, you do your bench press, then your heavy bent over rows. Okay. So either you're extremely weak or it's written by someone that actually hasn't trained, because if you're training on that type of split, the limiting factor on a bent over row is going to definitely be the recovery of your lower back. Your upper back can take a licking and keep on ticking. I've had multiple athletes train the upper back hard and heavy multiple times a week. So here's the kicker. When rowing, it's always some sort of chest supported row. So that takes the stress off the lower back, because on those kind of power rows, the limiting factor is the lower back. So back to seeing James Fed Carroll, I always trained, back then I was trained to build a big bench press. So I figured out very quickly, and Steve had me do them on deadlift day anyways, that there is no way I could train a really heavy bent over row, fatigue me worse than a deadlift, and then do some kind of heavy squat the next day, So what I did is I used to get benches, kind of stack them up on plates, get a barbell to mimic the opposite, basically the inverse motion of the bench press, what we call now a seal row. And I don't think I invented it or anything. I've seen plenty of other people do this too, but I have had success using these, with Tom Havlin, Julius Maddox, anybody I've worked with that's super strong has probably used these at some point. So the idea behind the seal row is you get the stimuli for your upper back, while sparing your lower back. That's it. Okay. We can do it with, a football bar, a parallel barbell. You can do it with dumbbells. You can do your hands neutral, pronated, a traditional straight bar, a camber bar, a log. The possibilities are absolutely endless. But some, you can do it where you sometimes do faster, more power reps. You can do peak contraction type of reps. You hold it at the top for the contraction for a second or so. There's all these different ways you can do it. The bottom line is some variation of the seal row, can get you somehow stronger. So, it's sometimes, as I always say, you gotta be a square and step outside of the circle jerk and build that upper back seal rows all day.